All right, guys. Well, second time's the charm. I started this video before I was really ready for it yet. So what I've decided we're going to do with this channel is similar to some of my other channels, if you've seen them or not. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go back and play a bunch of different games. We're going to have kind of a different rotation. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to try to do a bit of the FM17 save every day. As you've seen recently, it's been a little bit difficult to get as much played as I really wanted to, but that's sort of the way that it is. At the same time, I'm also going to try to have a video every day of gameplay of just like a normal game. So this is soccer for the NES. This is the same as the Famicom version. There is no difference. And so we're going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a try. I will warn you, I'm not a particularly good player at this game. We're going to play as Japan, skill level 1. We're going to just do 15 minutes. And we'll see how this goes. I've played this once before, and this was for a different video where I had sort of like a example of this as an early NES game. So as you can see, this game does have sort of a unique physics engine, which is one of the things that people talk about, and that you kind of nudge the ball forward a little bit instead of the way that most games work. So most games, including Football Manager, have it so that like the ball is glued to the feet of the player who's in control of it. With a game like this, after I just scored there, you can see that with a game like this, it doesn't quite work that way. Okay, so B will change players and A kind of kicks the ball, and it's kind of ridiculous that the computer decided to just stand there and let me score. So we might not play this game very frequently, but that gives you sort of an idea of kind of what's going on. And really the whole purpose of it is to kind of just kick the ball around. I'm looking through this, you can't really tackle players at all, you kind of just kick the ball. The aim for the goal, I guess supposedly has something to do with that arrow, but not really, right? It's just kind of like the ball kind of goes where you have it go. And then as you can see here, when you kick the ball forward, you have to like be positioned correctly for it. So if you read, like, for example, on I'm gonna play pretty poorly here on purpose here for a second just to like show some stuff. If you read on, say, like Wikipedia or something like that about games like Sensible Soccer, Kickoff, or something like that, I can't remember which game it was that mentions this, but it does talk about like these different sort of styles of play. The thing that was sort of unique about this game when it first came out is that your player really kicked the ball in front of him instead of having the ball glued to his feet. And that's really kind of what the big difference is. That's also true of Kickoff, if I remember this right. That's the reason why Kickoff, for some people, why it's such a great game. It's also one of the reasons why Kickoff is kind of a controversial game among people who play games like this, because you have to know kind of how the physics of the game works to be able to play the game correctly. Now you can always tell me if I'm getting something wrong, and chances are that I probably will end up getting something wrong here. That's at least the understanding that I have, having done some research and having played around a little bit with these games. Every once in a while, I think, as I mentioned before, I get people on the channels who get kind of upset with me and are saying, oh, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to play any of these games, why would you talk about this and stuff like that. Part of the reason why I want to go back and play these games actually so I can kind of learn how to play them. The other part of the reason is that a lot of these games end up being kind of ignored. So you don't see a lot of people talking about black box soccer unless you are an NES collector, right? Most people don't really think about that game. Now, you didn't really see it so clearly there, but I'm also in control of the keeper as well as of the defender at the same time, which is kind of a flaw with this game. A lot of the NES hockey games have the same flaws. If you play like Blades of Steel or Ice Hockey, they're great games, but when you're trying to play defense, it becomes really frustrating because you're trying to do two things at once. So in that sense, once your keeper's basically on the screen, what you need to do is you need to focus only on the keeper and not focus on any of your other guys. Yeah, of course I'm going to score if the goalie's like standing way over there and looking the wrong way, right? I mean, obviously. Anyway, I'm going to play a full game here instead of just giving up after a couple minutes. I think that when I used a clip of this game for a video, I only played like for like a minute or so, if I remember right. See, I made the mistake again there. I was trying to go after the ball, and so I had my keeper running all the way over to the wrong side. So don't do that. But yeah, this time we'll play the full game. We'll get the full game experience here for you. There's a whole bunch of other games that we'll play eventually. So like, for example, World Cup Soccer, what it was called in the United States, is actually a Kunio-kun game. At some point in time, I want to do a little bit of like a series. We can play through that. Oh, see, I haven't seen this part before. I kind of like this. We need more cheerleaders like this. I'm trying to think, if you went to a soccer game in Japan in like the early 80s, I don't think that they had cheerleaders then. I think it was only the NASL that had cheerleaders. This game, by the way, is old enough so that the NASL was still around when this game was made. So if you want, you could think of this as NASL soccer, right? So close and yet so far. I wonder what this is like on the harder difficulty settings. Maybe I'll end up playing this again. Because on easy, it's a little bit too easy. Anyway, the thing about this game is, you know, I cover games that are pretty crappy. I mean, this game's only got, what, you know, 6 players aside and stuff, so it's not exactly great. But I don't think that I would necessarily consider this to be like a, you know, like AVGN worthy kind of like horrible game, worst game you've ever heard of type of thing. This is definitely not the worst soccer game on the NES. There are games that are a lot more frustrating than this one. The thing about this game is that I think that as a 2-player game, this actually would be a lot of fun. It's just a little bit simplistic sort of in its design, I think, is the big thing. I think this would also be a lot more fun if I put the computer on max difficulty instead of making it easy, because that was way too easy. So now we'll try to sort of stall and waste our time and get to the end. At least the timer doesn't work in real time. I cannot imagine, though, how anybody could stand playing this game on like 45-minute mode. I mean, that's like the NES Iron Man competition, man. If you can stand playing this game on a mode like that, I'm really, really impressed, because this is a little bit, I mean, just look at it. Here, I'll give you a goal kick so we can see a goal kick. There we go. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was a corner kick. So I get a corner kick for doing that? And I can shoot it from the corner kick. Okay. Now there's a goal kick. This is what we wanted. And so for a goal kick, my guy stands right next to the goal, and it's not the goalie who kicks it, it's the guy right next to him. So many strange things about this game. Anyway, this is the real early days, of course, of the NES. I don't know what year this came out on the Famicom. I'm guessing it was probably like 83 or 84, just based on the game itself. Not a lot of people talk about, I should do a video on this eventually, like the Famicom back in the early days was basically known as like the sort of like a computer that would do anything, and people in Japan were really interested in making all sorts of like random games for it, including for sports that were not popular there. You can see this in the Famicom, in the list of Famicom games and stuff. So if you look, for example, on the Famicom disk system, that was over the line, but whatever. If you look at the Famicom disk system list of games, you'll notice that there are games like, of course, Exciting Basket, which is Double Dribble. You get Exciting Baseball, which is like the worst baseball game of all time, or one of them. But you also have games there that are like Exciting Billiards. You get some games that are really, really odd that were created for the system for whatever reason, or at least created for the disk system, and it's not entirely clear all the time what exactly the companies were thinking, but there you have it. And so this game, soccer, just sort of like fits right in with that strategy, or with that general, I guess that general culture of game making and stuff. But it's still okay. The animations are kind of cool, right? The cheerleaders are cute, you know. This isn't an awful game, right? It's just like, you're not gonna like compare this to like International Superstar Soccer or like whatever, you know. It's just sort of a fun game to kind of like dink around with every once in a while. Anyway, there you have it. That's soccer on the NES. I hope that you at least sort of enjoyed that. It's going to be a long time before we play this one before, so, you know, take a picture, right? Anyway, I'll talk with you later. Bye.